Hello, Mike Rasmussen, CPA Straight Talk for Small Business. Thursday, August 27th. And yes, Hurricane Laura is right above us here in Arkansas. It came up from Louisiana this morning, but we're fine. So definitely a lot of rain outside. So I want to get to the topic today is going to be sales and use tax, specifically to start with the state of California, but then talk a little bit about Arkansas and then the Streamline program nationwide. So I'm going to start with a specific and then and the tools available and the national programs out there. And then I'm going to end up with a little calculator that you can use for yourself to go, how much time am I spending on keeping track of sales tax? So you're looking at what's called the CDTFA, and it's the California website for Department of Tax and Finance Administration, okay? So the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, there you go. And right here is the industry and tax and fee guides. In the guides, if you scroll down, you can actually see the industries that are addressed. Now, anybody that saw me that actually referenced the audit technique guides with the federal, with the IRS, I wanted to follow up with, this is the state, this is specifically state of California, and their tools on how they audit not just income tax, but also sales and use tax, which obviously the common denominator is reporting all your sales, which is income, underreporting of income for the Fed, and then collection of sales tax for the state. So I am going to jump down to, you can see a gig economy is a hot one, but as always, I'm going to jump to restaurants. And here's the tax guide for restaurant owners, and they're all set up as an overview, getting started, and then we've got the industry topics. So I wanted to jump right specifically to restaurants and point you to some consideration that is applicable to how you may have modified your operation in a small business. Although I'm focused on restaurant, it was how you've changed your sales mix, and especially if you can't dine in, there was a greater percentage possibly to go. So in the state of California, there is all your sales may be taxable, and they have this, what's called an 80-80 rule. I'll just read it. The 80-80 rule applies when more than 80% of your sales are food and more than 80% of the food you sell is taxable. So if the 80-80 rule applies and you do not separately track sales of cold food products sold to go, you're responsible for tax on 100% of your sales. What that basically means is that if you separately track your cold food products sold to go, it also says, and hot bakery goods and hot beverages that are sold for a separate price. Those are, and you separately track those, a separate button on your point of sale, and you're able to specifically identify, as long as you qualify the 80-80 rule, 80% of your food are sold and sales or food or more or sell is taxable. If you meet that 80-80, then you're able to then cold food to go and hot bakery goods are non-taxable. That's great. So you don't charge the customer, and you're not have to include it in taxable sales for your business to remit. Okay. So and one thing I want to show right here, sales of those products must be separately accounted for and supported by documents such as guest checks and cash register tapes. Cash register, point of sale, should have a separate key for cold food sold to go and some other way of denoting such sales. Highlights, without such documentation, adequate documentation, 100% of your sales are subject to tax under the 80-80 rule. So if you're not keeping track, and then if you have had a change in your sales mix from in dining to go, this is where it really comes into play. You can see all of the instructions in this, and this is what the agents, the tax compliant agents with the state of California, use to not only learn your industry, if this is what you are in for as a small business, but they're going to go to these guides, and this is the rules that they're going from. There is obviously more detailed law, but this is the, if you will, cliff notes of the law for the state for everyone, not only get briefed, but for customers to follow. And quite honestly, a lot of the agents are required to read these because this was what is being presented to the customer, relying on data on the website. Okay. All right. So that has to do with just, there's one of these for, I just happened to pick the restaurant owners. In addition, at the top of this page, you can see the state emergency tax relief. So most states, when you go to their state, will show you if there's any unique programs for the states. So for example, in the state of California, you're probably hearing about, being in August here, all the fires that are going on. So it's a fire. So, and in addition to COVID-19, there of March of 2020 was issued. So here's what happens in what they're offering. Emergency tax or fee reliefs available for CDTFA business owners and fee that have been directly affected by disasters declared a state of emergencies. And national relief may include extension of tax return due dates, replacement copies. So in here, extension of filing deadline. So there is a 3-month deadline if you are affected by the fire or COVID-19. Well, there you go. So every state is going to have their unique emergency tax relief, either from a COVID-19 or other type of disasters, like the disaster going on right now with Laura, with the hurricane. So to go to your state websites, just like I've done for the state of California here, and poke around and find anything that's unique to you. Okay. Again, you know how I am. Don't always have to wait for your advisor. Take the initiative and go look for yourself and poke around to see. It didn't take that. You see what I did. Now, I'm going to jump to the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration. So this is the Arkansas, which is obviously one of the terms that I want to, that is being common to all the states right now is remote seller. And let me just get a little bit right here. That online and other remote out-of-state sellers collect state and local sales and use taxes in those states where the seller does not have a physical presence, but where they sell and deliver their products and services. All remote sellers and marketplace facilitators required to collect and remit sales and use tax to the state of Arkansas within the current previous year, and tangible blah 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 to exceed 100. Okay, and there's a number there. Bottom line there also to help the state of Arkansas, and then you can actually go through here to make this process a little easier, because it is confusing, and getting cooperation from other states. There is here I want to show you is Arkansas is a member of the Streamlined Sales Tax Governing Board, has implemented standards and simplifications that provide assistance to online and remote sellers affected by the Supreme Court decision as you transition to collecting and reporting Arkansas state and local use taxes. As some of the resources here, it talks about register through the Streamlined Sales Tax Registration System. So what was that all about? So I wanted to go to and brief you on this, which a lot of, especially us here as we're in a pandemic and we're remote selling more and more nowadays, this is becoming important. Streamline. What is the Streamlined Sales and Use Tax? Is the result of a cooperative effort 44 states, local governments, and business community to simplify and make more uniform the sales and use tax collection and administration for retailers and states. It minimizes costs and administrative burdens on retailers. So although I was talking about restaurants, retailers that collect sales tax, particularly retailers operating in multiple states. It encourages remote sellers, there's that word again, selling over the internet and by mail order to collect tax on sales to customers living in streamlined member states. it levels the playing field so that local brick and mortar stores and remote sellers operate under the same rules. This agreement ensures that all retailers can conduct their business in a fair and level competitive environment. So this is if you are in one of the states, okay, that qualifies for, that is participating in this Streamlined sales tax initiative, okay, you need to jump on this site and see what it is all about. Not only like, for example, in the state of California, which does not participate. Here is a this is a from the CDTFA, the Dining and Beverage Industry Guide. Here's a PDF, 28 pages, and I wanted to go to cold. Well, the reason why I wanted to go look up cold in a guide, here it's talking about, it's especially important, not only is this the rule for the state of California, which does not participate in the Streamline program, but some of this information that is consistent with all of the states, as I was doing my research on this, is sales right here. Sales of those products must be separately accounted for and substantiated by supporting documents such as the cash register should have a separate key for cold storage or to go or some other way of denoting such sales. Without adequate documentation, you're liable for tax on such sales. So the reason why I'm showing you this is that when you're involved with a state that participates, like Arkansas, in the Streamlined sales and use tax, you're still and you sell to go in another state. Easy. You're on a border that may or may not participate in the system. You need to, if we were bordering California and you sold an item to go cold and it went across state line, you not only need to consider about if Arkansas, where you are, if you're participating in the Streamline program, sales tax program, and you may need to go to California, although they're not our neighbor, but to the neighboring states' rules when you're a remote seller. And in this case, if you're a restaurant, you can see the fine line of having a cold to go on the border in one state going into the border of another state, that there's a possibility that it could be taxed one way or the other depending on the rules. So here's the sites you can go to. Again, the streamlinesalestax.org, or you can go to, start with your individual, like for California or for Arkansas. Now, if they participate in the Streamline, okay, you can actually, let's see this. There was a map that I wanted to show you. Let's go to the state. Here's all these states that are participating. So at this site, you can see not only if your state is or not, but then this is a great tool for you to jump to not only help request, but see, number one, if you participate in this Streamlined program, or if you just want to find what Arizona, California, and a number to call, and then the website, and then different sales tax that you can actually drill down. So they've made it at this site. It's a great tool to jump to your state to see as if you're a remote seller, okay, and that how are transactions sold over the internet or in neighboring states. How do you report that at the other states and in your own primary state? Okay. Then the next tool that I have shown many a times is not only that on that Streamline, but the state tax filing guidance. This was done by the HiTechCPA. And again, what you can do is jump in by state. And it gives you, if there was a very specific, I would encourage you to do this in like an searchable Adobe PDF that you could then click on, type in a word, and you can then, and it will take you down to your state. So these are all updated as of 8/25. So this is by every state on all the rules and deadlines, and Here's the one I want to chart on state COVID-19 guidance on telecommuting. And that is when do they actually apply? And here's the different states. So, and telecommuting is if you're able to work, what defining working at home, and if your neighboring state nexus imposed due to, so in other words, is telecommuting, is there any reciprocity, is there a fee charged by another state, and how they define, each state defines telecommuting. Okay. Then the next is I just want to make it aware that the Internet Tax Freedom Act, okay, which was enacted early in the 2000s, was updated here. And what it is a moratorium on internet access taxes and the grand moratorium on internet. It's based in, implement a 3-year preventing state and local governments from taxing internet access or imposing multiple discriminatory taxes on electronic commerce. We've probably heard about it, and here it is enacted almost over 20 years ago. The one piece that I wanted to bring up was that there was, how many states? I think 7 states, 13 states previously taxed and were protected under the Grand 7 states now internet access, but then as of June 30 of 2020, everybody applies. There is a moratorium based on this Trade Facilitation, Trade Enforcement Act of 2015. As of 2015, this is permanently extended, and so there is on electronic commerce with internet access, their sales and local governments cannot tax. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Here's a final one. Well, I don't know how much time I spend on preparing sales tax. I do not promote this site. All I went is this is a site that if you just wanted to, possibly a small business that just don't have the time to look and making sure you're not getting hit by, doing things right, especially in just your work. You're so focused on bringing in customers. So here's a site I went to that Avalara. I'm not even sure that's how you, but there is a program they have to help you automate your sales tax. I am not endorsing. I have not even been in, and although I'm looking into it to possibly work with them, but one they had here was try their new manual cost of manual compliance. So if you're doing your sales tax alone versus paying somebody, jump on their homepage, go through here and just basically how many hours per month do you spend on the phone? Monitoring, registering obligations based on state sales tax collection. And then it tells you a little bit of, defines that for you, if you will. So includes researching changes, mapping sales activity to other state requirements, researching and calculating appropriate tax rates, looking up all of that, preparing, filing, or remitting returns. Maybe you've got it down to a science grade, managing exemption certificates. Here's all the exemption from the state. What is your potential tax liability? So then you just put the hours in, and here's an average dollar, calculate your costs. So I only give that to you to say, here's a quick down and dirty way to really, as a reality check, and go, I'm spending more time than I thought. Okay? And I don't know, maybe I'm not. Maybe someone's handling it for you and they're spending 2, 3, 4 hours every. And probably the biggest thing is what you don't know that you don't know, especially when you're a remote seller and you're doing interstate commerce now that you've changed your business model. Okay. To summarize, we talked about tax guy. Let me jump into, and we talk about if you're how to find in a state has industry guides that tax compliance agencies use, not only to follow if they were to test your filings that you've submitted to the state agencies, but those documents and tools, which I showed you, are available online for you to test by industry. Coming back to by industry to make sure you're classified correctly and you're following. Those are by the states. Then we went to, there's a national Streamline program that's out there. And for if your state participates in that Streamlined sales tax program, you ought to find out how and where if that makes your life easier. Then I sent you a simple little site called Avalara that can actually help you in that case and do a reasonable cost on your manual tax compliance. Okay. And then, and at that point, you can actually see, wow, I'm spending more time than I thought, and hopefully removing the curveballs that can come your way. So here it is I want to take you to, real quick, go to at Facebook, if you would not mind, if you would like the page, if you like what you get here and what you can see, you can replay this there, and then we will actually take you to YouTube. We'll take the information and put it in a YouTube video so you can maybe possibly watch it there on my channel. If you do, go to subscribe there, because then it can come up. You don't have to search for me, HiTechCPA, and then eventually go to my homepage. And if you need me, you can scroll, take a tour, send me an email, and I'll get back to you in that same day. I take questions that are provided to me to do content like this every day. So have a great day. I'm going to hunker down here in the state of Arkansas, and I will see you next Monday. Take care.